Hi, everybody. This is Kate Haley with Glazer's Camera. Welcome to day 7 of our PhotoFest edition, the virtual edition. Each year we do PhotoFest. This is our 11th time around with PhotoFest. And unfortunately, we have not been able to do it in our normal way, having courses in our store and at a secondary location where you can come and be with people in person. So this is the next best thing. We've lined up a lot of great instructors. We've had a ton of great sessions all week. Today's Friday and the next to the last day of these sessions. So while we're excited to share the next 2 days of content, we're also a little bit sad that it's going to be wrapping up so soon. For today, we're going to start our day with McKenzie Deakins, who's a Sigma ambassador, and we're going to talk about cleaning up your Instagram feed using Sigma macro lenses and building your social media audience and following. Along with that, there are going to be some promos available for Sigma, so I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. So stay tuned for all that good stuff. During the session, if you have questions, please feel free to post those in the Facebook comment section or on our YouTube channel. And we'll ask as many of those as we can towards the end of the session. So McKenzie, can you tell us a little bit about you and your background in photography?
Yes, I'm actually, well, first of all, I'm just so excited to be doing this with you. This is just so fun. I love it. The world these days. And yes, I'm a wedding photographer based out of Utah. I've been a wedding photographer for over 15 years now. I've loved it. I've never really been bored with it. It's just so much fun. And yeah, I've been featured in multiple magazines from Bridal Guide to The Knot, Martha Stewart Weddings. I am a Nikon 100 photographer, so I'm one of the top 100 up and coming Nikon shooters. And my most exciting thing is that I am a Sigma ambassador. I just absolutely love their lenses. I love talking about their products, and yes, and I'll obviously be talking a little bit about Sigma today. But I'm married and have 2 kids. They're crazy. I have 2 poodles. The funnest, best ever.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. As we know, we only have 45 minutes with you today, and I know you have a lot to share with our audience. So let's go ahead and do screen sharing and get started on that presentation. Again, we will do Q&A towards the end of the day or the end of the session.
Yes, yes. Okay, I am just absolutely so excited to talk about this because to talk about this, to talk about uh, Instagram, because it is something that is scary. It's okay. There, first of all, should we talk about my sexy, yummy hair? Oh my goodness.
That is the best hair.
Yes, I'm back to normal brown hair, but once upon a time, I was magical unicorn and it washes out in 1 second. So I had to change it up. Anyway, so there it is. I have to put it there so that we remember how pretty it was. Okay, so let me talk. So you can see these 2 Instagram feeds. On the left, you see this one. It's a little busy. It's predictable and watermarked. I can't stand watermarked images just in general. I think that's my own personal opinion, but specifically on Instagram feeds, it does not need to be watermarked. No one's going to steal your image and reuse it. Maybe they do, and if they do, oh, who cares? And then this one also has like an ad on it, and then kind of like a personal picture. It's not, you don't really get the hint of like what they focus on. Are they a wedding photographer? Are they a maternity photographer? Are they a family photographer? Are they a commercial photographer? Like you just don't even know. On the right, a color story. I don't know if anyone follows them, but I love their Instagram feed. It's very inspiring. The composition and the color, it's just so refreshing to look at their feed. It's just very, very beautiful. The only tricky thing is that that's really hard to obtain when you're a portrait photographer or when you are, a family photographer, something like that, because you need to put those faces in there, and cleaning up your Instagram feed can be a little bit tricky that way. But McKenzie, social media is just so hard. Like, I don't want to do it. It's so hard. This is a picture of me on Christmas Eve trying to put together a Barbie dream house. It was the worst time. They had no instructions. It was the worst. But I will take your hand and I will teach you all of the things on how to create an easy way to conquer the Instagram world as a photographer. Okay, so let's first talk about like how kind of the evolution of marketing for photographers began. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been a photographer for about 15 years. And back then, when we were burning CDs and DVDs, 700 megabytes, you would get your marketing, usually when you start with your photography business, you're reaching out to your family, to your friends, people that you know, friends of friends, that kind of a thing, and that's great. Like that's how you're able to get the word out that you're a photographer, and then you're blogging about your photos, or you're putting them on Facebook. And that's what happened with me. I started putting out on Facebook some of my pictures. Hey, look at this photo session I just did, awesome. Like that's how we were able to share our the fact again that we were photographers. And then I went to bridal fairs, and then was featured in magazines, and that was great because people at bridal fairs were able to, my brides would walk by, I'd get to know them, I was able to talk to them, talk about how much fun engagement sessions are, and they kind of get to know me a little bit, so they felt comfortable with me. So that was a great thing about bridal fairs. Then magazines is just like, it's notoriety. It makes you look great. People look at your that you've been featured in magazines, are like, oh, she's so legit. And I'm like, but anyway, so that's great. All of that's great. Now, the last piece to this marketing puzzle for me was Instagram. And I joined on to Instagram pretty quick, about 4 or 5 years ago, and started, like, I had a personal feed, but then once I started my professional feed, that's when I felt like all of those pieces, like the get to knowing my couple, and having them get to know my personality and see if I was a good fit, and letting them see my portfolio, and the kind of candid stuff that the Instagram brings. So all of those pieces, it just like checked off all of my list. So Instagram just checks off all my boxes, right? So that's what I loved about Instagram, is that it was kind of like a one-stop shop for my marketing. And that is what that my audience, my 20s, those brides were on that platform as well. So it was perfect. Um, this is just going to give you a quick kind of view of the past 4 years on Instagram for me. So every year at the end of the year, you can go on to best nine. I think that's what the Instagram or the website is anyway. And it will pop up your best nine from the year. So 2016 to 2019, it shows what my most liked and most engaged pictures were. And anyway, you can see that like my feed is fairly simplistic, but a lot, if you can look, you can see that my face, which is so weird, like pictures of me were some of the most liked, some of the most engaging. And it's because I'm putting my face out there and saying something maybe a little bit more personal, a little bit more, vulnerable to my audience. And so people connect with that. They want to make, they see that you're like this great photographer, but they want to connect to that person behind the camera. And so a lot of my most liked pictures throughout the years have been pictures of my face and of me, which, again, I mean, who doesn't want to look at that rainbow hair? I miss it so much. Okay, anyway, let's go back. All right, so here's some stats, a couple stats here. Back in 2016, I posted 252,102 photos. No, JK, that's not how many. I posted 403 photos, but that's how many likes I had on those photos. So as the years went by, my my likes went down a little bit. And I know that everyone has kind of mentioned the algorithm, and your pictures aren't seen as easily, and that kind of a thing, which it's super lame. I'm not a fan, but you can see that I actually let that get to me a little bit. At least I feel that way. I started not posting very much. Like if you look at how many posts I did from 2016 to 2019, it's like half, over half. I just kind of like let it get the best of me. And then um subsequently, oh yeah, so and then also from 2016 to 2019, the average likes per photo also went down. So that was before the algorithm hit. And yes, I want to blame it on that, but I also blame it on myself because I wasn't posting as often and I wasn't as engaged with my audience. And I also subsequently made less money. So, and it might be like, it could be for other factors involved too, but I did make my most money in 2016 and 17, right as the Instagram world was just like blowing up, and everyone is just, oh, I loved it. Well, I mean, not that it blew. Anyway, So you post more, you make more money. That's what I'm getting at here. Okay. Now, there are other pieces to Instagram that they've implemented along the way. Insta stories is one of my most favorite things. In fact, I was a huge Snapchatter, loved Snapchat. I loved it because it was like raw, real, right then. I loved it. And so when Insta stories came on, I was like, oh no, Snapchat, I love you so much, but I have to say goodbye because now it's all here. It's awesome. So here are just a couple things like from me saying like I'm tired, but tomorrow's my birthday, so I'm so excited. So I'm not embarrassed to like show an awful picture of myself. Also, and take an awful picture of myself and post it. I love it. Behind the scenes, I have had so such great feedback from my followers saying that they love to see the behind the scenes stuff. And it is kind of funny, like to see like and fun to see like how something is really being um created behind the scenes and like where is she standing in comparison to her subject and the light and how it's coming through. And then you can see here on having a stunning feed, something that's simplistic to your eye, that keeps your eye moving, that in a matter of like 3, 9, and 12, you can get the gist of someone's photography style and kind of what they're all about as a photographer and their voice. Also, again, having them get to know you, it's just so important. It's almost like I've had people hire me just for my personality and not even, I mean, they obviously know that I'm a decent photographer, but they know that they're going to be comfortable with me on their wedding day. And if I'm posting these things, they, like silly interactions with me and my clients, they're like, oh, she's totally like chill at their photo shoots and stuff. And then this video, I'm like, and I'm using the 50mm Sigma lens. Oh man, I love these lenses. Anyway, so that's just um, that doesn't come easy though. You need to, oh, see, if you feel like you're a little bit stressed, quickly grab your phone, record some footage, and okay, this is some video. Okay. So I'll say this in a second. That's my brother. Okay, so what you can do is record video and then post it later so that you're not sitting there in front of your client trying to like tag and hashtag and write and put graphics on it so it doesn't interfere with your relationship with being present during that. So that's why assistance is required. Sometimes, see, I'm making her say you had so she learned so many fun things. So this might sound kind of awful, but a lot of times I won't, maybe everyone does this, I don't know, but I don't usually pay my assistants. I feel like if they're coming out to see how I interact with clients and how I direct them and how I photograph people and everything, that is almost payment in itself. And I know a lot of photographers think that way too. But anyway, so in regards to paying your assistants, say, hey, I need anyone want to come assist me? I'll teach you all the things and we can hang out for however many hours. So having an assistant is great because they can get the behind the scenes stuff, they can get over the shoulder stuff, and then you can sync that with your final image. People love that. People love that. Like the swipe right to or swipe to see how this was shot, behind the scenes stuff. People love to learn, love it. Okay. But here's another way to build your audience is to do giveaways. And I know it seems like, gosh, McKenzie, giveaways have been going on like forever. Really, does that work anymore? But it works on a couple of different levels. Building relationships with your brands and your vendors. That is so important. Your makeup vendors, you could give away like a full hair and makeup session and collaborate with a local clothing vendor and give someone like a head to toe makeover, or a spa, and these are all things that like they would now like want to bring business to you. So I mean, any with home furniture, anything like Sigma, love it. Printers, jewelry. This is I usually every year for my birthday I give a week of giveaways away. So a whole week I give out these giveaways, and it's kind of fun because people are looking forward to it, my followers, and it's a way that I can kind of give back to my followers instead of me just like vomiting like go buy my presets, go buy my presets. Instead it's like, oh, she's giving back a little bit. But it also helps to get you more followers and more profile views. It just sets you apart a little bit that way. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about macro lenses and helping to find a beautiful, gorgeous Instagram feed. I've loved, you all know, hello, I love Sigma lenses. Are you kidding me? Macro, I use their macro lens, and it is really, really fun. It's nice, it's crisp. I actually, so in this picture you can see I photographed like weddings, right? And so there's people everywhere. And I try to post simplistic images to help clean up my feed, but sometimes I just want to post like just a really pretty picture that I took, and stick that in there just to kind of break it up so there's not so many photos of people. And the reason I started doing this was because my brother got married and I took home some flowers from his wedding, and I thought, what a great idea for me to just take some time and photograph one of these flowers. Okay, well, sorry, we'll go back to that in a second. Okay, the 105 2.8 macro. It's much needed. A macro lens is definitely essential for photographers. Why? And it's because I say so. Ring shots, creative shots, like any nice tight shots. In fact, like the other day, like a dragonfly that was drenched in water flew into my porch area, and I'm like, time to take pictures. Coronavirus, nothing else to do. Just kidding. Anyway, oh, and this, is anyone reading this? A bunch of technical jargon that no one can read on a slideshow presentation, but here it is anyway, and I hope you have so much fun learning at PhotoFest. Okay, so love the macro lens. These are some pictures I shot with it. Some of these were shot at a greenhouse before I was waiting for a couple to get to their session. I was like, I've got my macro lens. I'm gonna bust that out and just take some really pretty shots in this greenhouse. And I just love them. Like I have them printed kind of throughout my house. But this one on the left was that one I was telling you about earlier with well, oh, so here's another cute thing is my mom gave me donuts for my birthday, and I'm like, why don't I just take a picture of that donut, and then I have it printed and hung in my basement just for funsies, so it's fun because you can clean up your Instagram feed, you can create beautiful art that way, and it just takes you, it kind of makes it more interesting instead of just like wedding, or newborn, whatever you shoot, it's just like not okay. So this is what I was getting at. So this is the behind the scenes picture here. So you can see I took these flowers from my brother's wedding, and I wanted to surprise him with some pictures the of the flower, and so that they could like print it huge, put it in their bedroom, put it somewhere. I just thought that would be more like kind of a fun, instead of like, here's a picture of us smiling at the camera, and it's just kind of a little interesting and fun and different. And then that helps you clean up your Instagram feed. So using the hashtag behind the lens, behind the scenes, actually it's hard because the hashtag BTS is like 100 million or something because of the BTS guys, right? Anyway, so there are different ways to clean up your Instagram feed. So light, dark, light, dark. That's usually my rhythm because it takes forever for me to, I'm just busy. I'm a mom, I have 2 kids. My son's been diagnosed with kidney disease. So like my life just has to be so simplistic. So whenever I post like a picture that's dark, then I'm like, next one should be light. Next one should be dark. So it kind of looks a little bit like a checkerboard and it has some flow to it. The other option is maybe doing posting in threes. So you can see this photographer here has done like 3 from the same session or 3 from the same color scheme. So it kind of goes in that pattern. The only tricky thing here is you would need to like post 3 at a time. And that's like where I would feel like would put me under a little bit of pressure there. Now here's another one posting in threes, and it's not as obvious, but you can tell like this woman in the black hat, like those all 3 go together, and then the studio stuff. Anyway, so it's kind of like they're all 3 from the same session. You can also add, I have a separate Instagram for my boudoir sessions because I felt like I had so much to say as a woman, and empowerment and self-confidence and everything, that I wanted to have my own Instagram that was for boudoir sessions instead of like kind of trying to mix the 2 on my wedding photography page. But then I was like, why don't I just put some cool graphics, some fun graphics, or some quotes and stuff by some powerful women. And anyway, so you can add graphics, but you have to make it good. Okay, I'm getting carried away here, but it's still so hard. This is so hard. You haven't told us, McKenzie, how to make it easier. McKenzie, how do you do it? I'm like, you know what? Shh, I'll help you. I got you. Okay, so I use a program called Planoly, and maybe you've heard of it. I love it because you can flop your pictures in there. you can see how I'm kind of moving them around, like, does this look good here? Does it have too much orange? Move it here. And then you double click on something, and then you can fill out your comment. First look sessions are always so precious and emotional. So sweet. Keep it up, guys. I don't even know what I'm saying here. Anyway, so it's cool because you can type, write, love it. Then you can schedule it. Oh, just kidding. You got to put your hashtags on. So before that, you put in words. You put in your hashtags, and then you can just click on which hashtag bunch fits that genre that you're posting. You can tag people in it. Sigma photo, love Sigma photo. Yeah, so you can schedule it out. So say I want to do like the 27th, and then my prime time, I would schedule that to like maybe later. I feel like my audience is usually like in the evenings, like 8:39. That's when I have a lot of people look at it. And then you can even add the location so that it tags them at that location. And then you can tag the vendors, the florist, which I suggest you do. Tag every single person you know ever. And then even maybe some like Rocky Mountain Bride, or someone that's a wedding vendor that would also maybe want to like, oh, see this. Don't go crazy though. Okay. Don't be posting like tagging 3,000 people. There's a limit there. Okay. So then you schedule it. It's awesome. It auto posts for you. Now I know there's like some maybe auto posting isn't going to be the best idea. I know that some people have noticed that they don't get as high of engagement numbers, like likes and comments, because it's scheduled. I actually haven't noticed too much of that because I've seen it both ways. Like, it just depends on if that picture is awesome and amazing. If that picture is awesome and amazing, it's going to get some likes. It's going to get some engagement there. And so like maybe the pictures of like a close-up succulent aren't going to have like 7,000 double taps, but it's going to make your feed look really pretty, so that when one of your potential clients sees your feed, they'll be like, oh, I like that. I like that so much. Okay. Oh, what? Sigma? I love you, Sigma. What? Okay. Okay. So I know I went through that really fast, but let's talk about, and in fact, do we have any other questions we can talk about? I'm realizing I like just stormtroopered that
No,
whole
you're good. I mean,
shenanigans.
I'm actually have a question about Planoly. I've used Hootsuite for a
Okay.
long time for scheduling my posts. And with Hootsuite, it actually will just do that post directly without prompting you to open the app on your phone. Does Planoly work that
Love
way, or
that.
does it prompt you to open the phone to actually push the scheduled post through?
No,
No?
no, it just auto posts for you. So
Fabulous.
that's really nice.
That is really
But I
nice.
do like Hootsuite as well. I mean, really, if you're going into any kind of social media auto posting platform, like that's really what you want to see. You want to taking that stress and pressure off of your
Yeah.
life. That is what's got to happen, because we already have to edit and to purchase. We have so many things on our plate already, so that like if we can take that one piece of marketing and just do it in one day and
Yep.
then just have it done with, then that
Exactly.
is just easy peasy.
Yeah. I
Just
mean,
makes being a photographer easier.
yeah, I think I've been using
Yeah.
Hootsuite for almost 10 years, which is kind of frightening that I've been using it that long.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, I've seen Plan, which is a different app but similar, but that pushes you to open the Plan app on your phone, and then you still have to publish the post. So that's why I wanted to ask about
Yeah, see
Planoly to
that.
see how that worked. So
So that's what I love about that one, is it's like you can just forget about the whole week and just go. And
yeah,
then I always notice that I'm like, every time I post or every time I plan posting, I always get more likes, more
yeah,
inquiries. It really does equate to making your business grow when you're putting yourself out there. Sometimes I beat myself up because I'm like, why am I not making any money? Why don't I have any inquiries and stuff? And it's like, well, you're not really doing anything, McKenzie. You really have to like kind of work for it. Okay. You can't just be like, but I built it like 4 years ago. Why haven't they come yet? Like, no, you need to continue the building process and keep like telling people that you're out there, letting them know that this is what you're still doing.
right.
Like, yeah, it is a process.
Well,
You know what, Kate, I actually wanted to talk about Sigma really quick because
okay.
um I don't want to talk about, okay. Um Sigma, I found Sigma, and this is just like a little testimonial. I found Sigma at a local camera store, and I was kind of at my wit's end. Like I now that I look back, I can tell that there was kind of a hole missing in my photography career. I was going, but I wasn't able to charge the prices that maybe other photographers were getting out of sessions and photo sessions and stuff. And I went into one of my camera stores and they said, "Hey, have you seen the Sigma 35 millimeter?" And I'm like, "Oh, just another salesman trying to sell me some stuff." And he was like, this lens will like seriously just change you. And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." And so, but he said you can rent it, and then that price can go towards your final cost if you end up wanting to buy it. And so that was kind of what sold me. I'm like, I'm okay renting it. So I rented this camera or this lens, and no joke, it really like just jaw dropping amazing. And that's what from me, I mean, I had Nikon lenses, and Nikon lenses are great and everything, but it was just the price point that was killing me. And as like a struggling photographer trying to make ends meet, trying to pay my house payment, I just couldn't justify spending like $1,800 on the lens. Instead, this lens was like I think it was $899 at the time, and I paid that. And no, now that I've been a part of Sigma, I'm like, oh wow, there's been like some sales and stuff that's happened. Dang it. But no joke, I've said to my followers, I'm like, I would pay for that lens 100 times over, no problem. That full retail price. It is worth every penny. And that's what I love about Sigma is they're so crisp. They're beefy, sturdy lenses. They're not these like wimpy little babies that you're just like, what is this little baby lens? They're substantial. And there's seriously nothing else better in the world. When you grab your new Sigma lens and you click it onto your camera body, and it just makes that yummy, crisp sound. And then you take it out for its first ride. Oh my goodness. I know I sound like this kind of ridiculous person right now, but once I found Sigma lenses, it really did change everything for me as a photographer. I was almost giving up on doing this. I'm like, I'm just not good enough. But it really was the fact that my equipment wasn't where it needed to be. My equipment wasn't helping me at all. And so once I grabbed those 1.4 lenses, I was a rock star. My images were crisp, bright, beautiful. I loved them, and that was that one piece missing that I wish that I would have had from the very beginning. But anyways, that's why every time I do mentorships and mentoring, I'm just like, I drill it in their head. Go out, drop kick those kit lenses. They want the little squatty butt face ones. Just get them out the door. You need to go buy some Sigma lenses, stat. And I've never had anyone like wish that they didn't or anything. And they're always texting me, I just got it. I'm so excited. And anyway, so it's just, yeah, I just really have like Sigma for the past few years whenever I found them. And anyway, so sorry. I
Well,
just had
no,
to make sure that I said that.
no, it's great. And was that the 35 1.4 art lens that you're referring to?
Yeah, sorry. I'm talking about the 10. This has a picture of the 105
Right,
macro,
right.
obviously.
No, you're
We're talking
good.
about macro lenses, but yeah, the 35 millimeter 1.4, and I can't remember what the price is on it now. It might be on sale.
I would like to
But
mention that what you talked about with that camera store's rental policy, Glazers does a very similar thing. So you can
oh,
rent a list.
awesome.
Yeah, Glazer's rental house, we have a policy where if you rent a camera or a lens, one day of that rental can go towards your purchase price. So you can rent it, try it for a weekend, see if it's going to work for you, and then apply that towards your purchase. So yeah, we do that too.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's brilliant. So smart. Awesome.
every little bit
Okay, any
helps.
other questions?
No, we're good
No
right
one.
now.
Everyone's like,
We have about 15 minutes left. So, did you have more in your presentation?
I think my presentation is done.
Oh, okay. Well, I have another question for you. I have
Do
another
you have another
question.
question?
I
Okay, because I
do.
feel like I just like vomited bar words all over the
No,
place,
it
like
was fantastic.
for that whole
We're
thing.
clapping here. We loved it. And so I do have a question. You talked about COVID a little bit and how you haven't been as busy. So how have you been managing your feed during this time when we're not doing the sessions that we would normally be doing because legally we're not supposed to be doing that? So are you going through the archives
Hmm.
and posting things? Are you doing more macro? Like how are you using,
Yeah.
what creativity are you exploring as we continue to figure out how we're going to reopen and get back to actually marketing our businesses? Because, like you said, you still want to be in front of people. I know for
Yeah.
me, one of the things I did was I was documenting Seattle, and going to our local market downtown that's normally thousands of people are wandering through, and trying to support
Oh,
those
how
local
fun.
businesses and taking photos of them and giving them prints and doing things like that. So I guess I'm curious, like, what have you been doing during this time to facilitate what comes next for your business, and also just kind of like keep those creative juices flowing?
Yeah, I agree. Well, what's happened here in Utah, so I'm based in Utah, is we've never actually had shutdown orders and stay at home orders. Everyone just did. Everyone just stayed home. But we've never had it kind of be like a legal thing. It was just maybe a suggestion. So for this is kind of hilarious because the companies, or not the companies, the couples that I've had summer weddings, and so they're okay, so they're part of the LDS Mormon religion, and they believe not having sex before marriage, right? And so I got call after call. We have to elope. We have to elope. We gotta elope because we have, we cannot quarantine with our parents. We cannot. So it's pretty funny. So I had like call after call and getting these elopement requests. And it really was like a very small, intimate elopement stuff that we were doing. But it was for that reason, is that like under these quarantine conditions, they just wanted to like, all the churches are closed, all the temples are closed, and weddings were, obviously being postponed and rescheduled. And so they're like, well, we'll just elope and then kind of celebrate later. So for me, I actually was kind of on the lucky side of things in regards to photographers, is because I was still able to connect with people. I still, held back, wore a mask, was definitely 6 feet. I mean, with the Sigma 100 millimeter lens, like you can just get really far back. So, but yeah, and then so yes, I was still shooting and still doing some elopements, but I agree with you. Um, Taking some time for myself and kind of reevaluating my business plan and my market, realizing like having kind of some like come to Jesus moments where I was like, do I like what makes me the most happy? Do I like doing some random headshots for a business company, or do I want to start saying no to that? Or am I like busy, or I have no money, so I need to, just scramble and do whatever. So I've been doing a lot of that, like soul searching, like what brings me the most happiness. And I really love weddings. I love weddings, and I really love the elopements, because what's the worst part of a wedding is like having to stand at a reception for like 2 hours, and so boring. But yeah, some of our weddings here in Utah are dry weddings. They don't have any alcohol.
Right.
It's
I actually lived in
not
Salt Lake
that good.
City for about 6 or 7 months back in 2006 into seven. And yeah, I remember those times. I didn't actually go to any
Yeah,
weddings during that time, but just going out for a drink wasn't a thing that you did without a membership to a place.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Which
um,
is fine. It's
yeah,
just the elopements are like short and sweet. They're like
right.
an hour and a half, 2 hours tops, and
Done.
feels good. We're
Yeah.
done.
Well, that's
So,
great that you've,
but yeah, but I loved it.
yeah, that's really great that you've been able to do that during this time. Uh, and I think what you were talking about, like kind of diving in and focusing on what is the work that brings me joy, and then figuring out like how do I market myself for that, and finding those clients. Like I think that's the question most photographers and creatives in general are asking themselves and always trying to push towards. So that's it's great that you're also taking time to do that. So um, yeah,
Yeah, that's just number one. You gotta keep keep yourself happy, or else it's not happy. You
right.
gotta be happy.
Yep. That's what's important. And also self-care during this time too. So there's a
Oh
lot
my
going on in
goodness,
the world.
right?
So we have to remember that we have to pause and take care of ourselves too. So um,
Yeah.
did you, so we actually don't have any more questions in the chat at this point. So it
Well,
sounds like,
okay, let me
yeah,
bring up one other thing. So
okay.
there was one question that I thought was really interesting, is someone asked me once why I did um different Instagrams for different like boudoir versus weddings versus like portraiture. It seems like it's a lot of work, and it seems like why can't you just like all condense that into one? And I think of it in a way that like if you have like a tumor on your brain, you would go to a brain specialist type of thing. So when you specialize in a type of photography, then you know that when someone is like when someone's getting married, they will look for a wedding photographer. They don't want to go to someone that does like kind of everything kind of decent. They want to go to someone who does weddings amazingly. And I felt like I was like, no, I'm a wedding photographer. I'm not a boudoir photographer. No, I'm a wedding photographer. I'm not a boudoir photographer. But then when I started thinking about what brought me the most joy, it really was like those boudoir sessions that connecting with these women that weren't doing these boudoir sessions for their husband. They were doing it for themselves. And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that was a thing and that you would do that. But it was mainly for their self-confidence. Maybe they've lost some weight. Maybe they just needed like a boost in their self-esteem. But every single time, I mean, I've had like emotional, tearful moments with these women. And I was like, that is bringing me so much joy, but so does weddings. And they do go hand in hand with bridals. Like, you know, you can do a bridal boudoir session, like that kind of fits into that little niche there. But I wanted to expound on that and have a market separate from my wedding so that I could have, you know, for wedding or for Valentine's Day, for Christmas, giving them a beautiful album to have a keepsake for themselves or to share with their, you know, their partner. And oh, I have found, like you said, when we were talking about what brings me the most joy, and so that was why I separated the two. And I know a lot of other photographers will do that, like if they have just a headshot page, because headshots are so not exciting to market for. Like they're just
Yeah.
like, you know,
Well,
you don't want to like
that's
muddy
what I
that up
do.
with like
Like
some emotionally, yeah.
I
So
have a
it's
headshots
tricky.
account along with my regular
um,
account. I have both of those. So I agree with you.
right.
So yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was why I had someone say like that just seems like a lot of work. But when you do have Planoly, you can add different accounts onto it. So I have 3 different accounts that are attached to that. So it's easy for me to just click and like on the Monday morning, I just bust out all of my marketing for all 3 accounts, and I know that they're going to auto post and that everything's just taken care of that day, or in one day is taking care of the week. And then you can even have more of a, oh, instead of just posting whatever you just shot yesterday, it's like, wait, what am I pushing this week? Am I pushing prints? Am I pushing albums? Am I pushing 20% off of this shoot? Or am I pushing, you know, so you're actually like thinking and being purposeful about your marketing instead of just again vomiting like the picture that you posted or shot yesterday. This
Well,
was
yeah.
yesterday.
Well, it gives you the
Dot dot dot.
opportunity to really plan things out. And with that drag and drop option, you can also plan the flow of the aesthetic that you're looking for on your feed, along with planning for what you want to talk about that week. You know, like we've had protests happening. There's all these different things that are
Yes.
going on in the world right now. You know, I did a series of stories on my feed when we had the Blackout Tuesday a couple of weeks ago. So, you know, that's sitting down and thinking about, okay, well, what does that look like? What do
Mm-hmm.
I want to say about that? And, you know, with these tools, you have the opportunity to kind of like sit down and have focus. And I take the same approach as you. I'll sit down and I'll look at that plan and go through and just knock out a bunch. And then my time on Instagram is talking to other people and liking other people's work and that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. So, you know, I think that the joy that brought us, you know, we had an Instagram in the early days can kind of still exist if we maybe have those different moments too. So
I agree. And like it's funny because I love being on Instagram, but I hate it because you sit there and compare yourself to like every other person, every other photographer. But I do have a time limit, obviously, like everyone has their time limit set. I have mine set for 25 minutes, and it's basically just going on and being able to communicate, like you said, respond back to comments, looking at other photographers' feed and giving like good feedback, because I feel like as a community, as photographers, we don't do that enough. We don't reach out and give compliments like to another photographer. And that's been some of the most beautiful moments too, is commenting on someone's feed, and then they're genuinely like, you know, when a photographer comments on my feed, I'm like, oh, that's so sweet, because their opinion means so much to you, and it just makes your day go a little bit better. But I love what you said about posting current events and posting your voice, you know, posting your truth. Don't hide it. I love that. I love that. Making sure that you're, um, you know, not hiding that way. I love it.
well, I mean, it's your authentic self. Like you're doing these fun BTS shots and little like boomerangs and things like that, and that's part of you and your personality. And it does help you get connected with people who you want to work with. So, you know,
Yeah. And I will say something on that. I have had other people say, well, but you could do that because it's your personality. And that's the frustrating thing is I'm like, let me just tell you really just what worked for me. So this is what's worked for me and what I found success with, but don't grab this and just copy it. Instead, be inspired by it and make it your own. So find these little different tweaks, these behind the scenes or these different things and make them your own. And I know people are like, maybe some photographers get a little overwhelmed with it, but it's more so the more you film yourself and the more you take pictures of yourself, the more comfortable you'll be with it. Because I know a lot of photographers don't like to turn the camera around and get their picture taken, right?
Oh, that's so
Now,
true.
so
That's so true.
yeah,
Every portrait workshop I teach, I probably 60% of them, I don't hire a model. I have each of the students be the model and talk about the importance of being in front of the camera. Like if you want to create portraits of people, whether it's weddings or headshots or editorial or whatever, and you can't relate to the people you're photographing, then put yourself in front of that camera so you can start to learn to do that, because that connection and conversation is so helpful when other people aren't comfortable in front of the camera, and that's most people. So yeah, that's so
seriously.
crucial.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And that's so important to be on the other side so that you feel that awkwardness and that like, oh, this is what it feels like when they don't talk to me, like I need those words of affirmation. I need, so that also helps. Like,
Yeah.
gosh, I really, yeah. Anyway, so yes.
No, that's good. I'm glad we actually had time to have that little back and forth, because I think that was also beneficial. So um,
I know.
and you're just awesome to talk
I
to.
just love you. I think you're so
Well, I love
great.
you too. You're just awesome. So we'll go ahead and wrap up the session. I do want to let people know again, there are some Sigma promos available. So if you registered, you should have gotten an email about these offers. And you're going to want to take advantage of those offers soon, because they end on Saturday or Sunday, depending on what we negotiated with Sigma. So very rare offers. Check your email for a newsletter from us with those promos in them. And I will mention that we get to hang out with McKenzie again tomorrow, because she's got another session at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And on that, we're going to talk about those adventure elopements. So she's going to get to talk and dive into a little bit more about how those work for her and her experience. I've seen a lot of the photos that she does, and her work is great. So if you're not following her, go follow her on Instagram and get inspired. And it's McKenzie Deakins. So go check her out. McKenzie and Sigma, thank you so much for being here, being a part of PhotoFest. We are totally grateful. Sigma is a great partner, and we also love their lenses. And maybe not as much. No, I'm just kidding. No, we definitely love their lenses as much as you do. But no, we appreciate your time greatly, and I'm looking forward to our follow-up session tomorrow at 1 on adventure elopement. So thank you again so much, McKenzie, and for Aaron and everybody at Sigma for helping make this happen. And if you're tuning in today, we do have another session that starts at 1 p.m. today too. So come back for that session at 1 p.m. And for now, we'll sign off. And thanks again, McKenzie. You're awesome.
Thanks.